Happy Halloween, folks! Dividend Gardener here. Welcome to a very spooky edition of Dividend Gardening. Today we're going to look at 4 stocks that stopped paying dividends, but after several years brought their dividend back to life. We have 1 Canadian and 3 US stocks to talk about today. As always, this video is for information and entertainment only, with this particular one leaning more on the entertainment side. We're not diving too deep into these stocks, and this list is not financial advice, so do your own due diligence and don't invest irresponsibly. Let's get the gardening gloves on and flip the packet on our first stock, which is Johnson Outdoors, ticker symbol JOUT on the NASDAQ. Johnson Outdoors is in the consumer discretionary sector, and in the leisure products industry, they sell equipment and accessories for fishing, diving, camping, and watercraft recreation. The company was founded in 1970, it has a market cap of $1.07 billion, and it's headquartered in Racine, Wisconsin. Johnson Outdoors pays a 30-cent dividend on the January, April, July, October schedule. There's no DRIP or share purchase plan, and Johnson Outdoors has had a pretty respectable track record of 7 years of consecutive dividend increases, and according to Seeking Alpha, has a 23% 5-year dividend growth CAGR. Back in 2008, Johnson Outdoors faced some financial difficulties that led to a suspension of its 5.5-cent quarterly dividend. But 5 years later, in 2013, it brought dividends back with a quarterly payment of 7.5 cents. Johnson Outdoors tends to announce their dividend increases in October, and with the quarterly dividend now at 30 cents, it's plain to see there's been some phenomenal dividend growth in just under a decade. Our next stock on the list is Kinross Gold, ticker symbol K on the Toronto Stock Exchange and ticker symbol KGC on the New York Stock Exchange. Kinross Gold is in the materials sector and the metals and mining industry. It was founded in 1993 in Toronto, Ontario, and has a market cap of $7.9 billion. Currently, Kinross Gold pays a 3-cent US dividend on the March, June, September, December schedule. There is neither a DRIP nor a share purchase plan, and Kinross Gold hasn't yet raised its dividend, which might be because it just resumed paying dividends in October of 2020, so there's no dividend growth CAGR to report. Kinross Gold paid its first dividend of 4 cents US in 2008 on a semi-annual schedule, which is pretty uncommon. The most recent example I can think of that used to pay their dividend on a similar schedule was Disney, where they would pay their dividend twice a year. By 2012, Kinross Gold's semi-annual dividend had grown to 8 cents US, but its last dividend was declared in the first half of 2013. In 2020, 7.5 years later, Kinross Gold reinstated its dividend, and this time as a 3-cent US quarterly dividend. It's not quite at the 2012 levels when you factor in what that works out to annually, but Kinross Gold stated at the time that it believes its dividend is sustainable. Time will tell if there will be any dividend growth in the future. If you're enjoying this video and all of these candy, corny Halloween puns, please plan to like. It really helps the channel a skeleton. Thank you so much. Our last 2 stocks on the list reinstated their dividends after more than a decade since they suspended them. Next up, we have Gray Television, ticker symbol GTN on the New York Stock Exchange. This is a media company in the communications sector. It was founded in 1897, has a market cap of $2.09 billion, and is headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia. Gray Television currently pays an 8-cent US quarterly dividend on the March, June, September, December schedule. They don't have a DRIP, and they also don't have a share purchase plan. Gray Television is the most recent company on this list to reinstate its dividend, so there haven't been any increases just yet. It had been paying dividends consistently for 41 years, but its 3-cent dividend was suspended following the third quarter of 2008. Fast forward 12.5 years to 2021, and the dividend is back again, this time at 8 cents. At the time of recording this video, there have been 2 more dividends that were paid out since the initial reinstatement, so we'll just have to wait and see whether or not there may be future dividend growth here. Alright, our last one is a real boo chip stock, and that is, appropriately enough for Halloween, Apple, ticker symbol AAPL on the NASDAQ, and trading as a CDR on the NEO exchange as Apple as well. It's Halloween, I had to include a FANG stock. Wait, you mean that joke's gonna be out of date in a month or two? Apple is in the technology sector and the technology hardware storage and peripherals industry primarily, though it also has a significant presence in the software industry as well, not to mention they're branching out into media, finance. At its core though, Apple is a technology company. Apple was founded in 1976 and has a market cap of $2.5 trillion, which makes it among the largest companies in the world, and it's based in Cupertino, California. Apple pays a quarterly 22-cent dividend in US dollars on the February, May, August, November schedule. They don't have a DRIP, they also don't have a share purchase plan, and they've been increasing their dividend for the past 9 consecutive years. Apple has a pretty amazing turnaround story, and I'll summarize it as quickly as I can. It had some success with its Apple II and Macintosh computers and first declared a dividend in 1987, a couple of years after the departures of co-founders Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. By the 1990s, though, Apple was struggling, and that led to a suspension of its 12-cent quarterly dividend after December of 1995. By 1997, Apple was just 90 days away from bankruptcy when it finalized the purchase of Next, a company founded by Steve Jobs shortly after he'd resigned from Apple. This integration, including the return of Steve Jobs as CEO, was the catalyst for all kinds of future success, including the revitalization of the Macintosh line, the iPod, and of course, the iPhone. After a 17-year break, the longest on this list, Apple began paying a dividend again. This time, a $2.65 dividend per quarter. That was about a 1.8% dividend yield at the time, given that Apple had a relatively high share price back then, trading at around the $580 to $600 mark. There have been a couple of stock splits since then, but factoring that in, the dividend itself is still at 22 cents US per quarter and growing. According to Seeking Alpha, Apple has a 9.3% 5-year dividend growth CAGR. Apple was the first US stock that I planted in my dividend garden, and it had been a stock that I'd wished I'd owned a decade ago, but it just wasn't accessible to me at the time. It now plays a pretty key role in my dividend garden. So what I'd like to know is, have you held any of these stocks during their dividend suspensions and reinstatements? Or are there any stocks that I missed in this list? I found it surprisingly difficult even to get to this list, factoring in that I'd been looking for stocks that had suspended their dividends for at least 3 years and no suspensions that were due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So if there is one that I missed, let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this Halloween special of Dividend Gardening. Don't forget to plant a like if you haven't already, and if you have already, thank you so much. And one more note, I'm not a financial advisor, nor am I dressed as one for Halloween. This video is for information and entertainment purposes only. There is risk involved with investing, and that can be frightening, so always do your own due diligence or seek the advice of a licensed financial professional. Thank you so much for watching, happy dividend gardening, happy Halloween, and we'll see you in the next video.